Hello, and welcome to the Citizen Compass Newsroom. Today's news: Blueprints, Laser and Bombs, USC Weekend Report. The weekend of Friday 27th to Sunday 29th of May, 2956 was one of the busiest in the United Space Confederation, USC, in recent weeks. A total of 4 major operations ran back-to-back: a large-scale hunt for crafting blueprints, the first forays into the newly accessible QV breaker stations in Nix, and a deep expedition into the wilds of Pyro. Here is how it all unfolded. The search for blueprints. The recent arrival of item fabricators into the USC hangars has changed everything. For the first time, members can craft their own weapons, armor, and equipment, clearing the dependence on vendors for these items. But only if they have the blueprints to do it. Without them, an item fabricator is little more than an expensive recycling bin. Most blueprints will not simply be handed out or bought off a shelf. They have to be found, and as it turns out, criminal organizations across Stanton, Nix, and Pyro have been sitting on a considerable number of them, presumably stolen from various locations, as criminals tend to do. Ridge 6 put together an operation to go and find as many blueprints as possible. Teams fanned out across multiple hideouts and criminal installations in a coordinated push that was by any measure a serious grind. It paid off, though. A significant haul of blueprints was secured by the end of it. Along the way were the usual complications: fuel running dry mid-flight, a rescue or two, and a ship taking a battering from outpost turrets, requiring emergency repairs. The QV breaker stations. The QV breaker stations have been a fixture of Nix lore for centuries, and they've been out of reach for just as long. That changed recently when Shubin Interstellar began issuing mining claims to these abandoned facilities, opening them up for the first time in centuries. Beyond the novelty, they matter for a practical reason. The stations contain high-quality, mineable materials essential for crafting top-tier equipment. 2 separate operations went to investigate these new locations over the weekend. The first led by Director Stiles aboard the USCS Excelsior, an Idris-class frigate. The second operation was captained by Ito the Salty Cat aboard the USCS Gale, a Polaris-class corvette. The Excelsior crew made a detour before reaching Nix, stopping to put the newly arrived RSI Aurora Mark II through its paces on one of Gilly's missions. The new ship performed well, the test data was gathered, and the group moved on to Nix, satisfied with what they had seen. At the stations themselves, both operations quickly discovered that getting the laser up and running was far from straightforward. The facilities were crawling with criminals who showed no interest in leaving, arriving in waves even after areas had been cleared of them. While teams fought to hold ground, others fanned out across the station, hunting for PGR capacitors to bring the power core back online, Satyrix crystals for the laser lenses, and access codes for the refractor's alignments. None of it came easily, but piece by piece it came together. With the core online, the codes found, and the lenses fabricated and installed, the laser was finally brought to life. Watching it tear into the rock face was, by all accounts, a genuinely impressive moment. Though on the second operation, the spectacle was briefly upstaged by the discovery that someone had positioned 2 Drake ships directly in the laser's path. One was vaporized instantly. The other, to its credit, held on a little longer. Mining the cracked rock proved trickier than expected. Smaller fragments were stubborn, several ships were disabled by secondary explosions, and things got messy before they got resolved. But the resources were extracted and the crews made a home, and both operations came away with a much clearer picture of what these stations demand and what they are worth. Operations Dark Echo. The Ministry of Intelligence and Exploration runs Pyro expeditions regularly, and Sunday's Operation Dark Echo was the latest in that tradition. Directors Maxons and Rodergeist led the missions with the USCS Astraeos, a veteran Cara-class vessel, and the USCS Tabula Rosa, an Origin 890 jump, assigned to the task. It did not go entirely to plan before it had even started. The Tabula Rose developed technical difficulties at Gaslight Station and could not depart, leaving her crew to transfer over to a Hercules A-2 bomber instead, which at least came stocked with a Centurion, Ursa, several Cyclones, and a medical Pisces. The small fleet made for Ignis and located a large remote sand cave where both crews disembarked and set about exploring, even taking the time to collect samples and do some hand mining. The caves were truly astonishing, with sweeping formations and natural beauty on a scale that is easy to forget exists out in Pyro. A spectacular sight and one of the main reasons to venture out and explore. Eventually, the crews were called back to the ships, as Valakers had been spotted in the distance. To ensure everyone's safety, Rodergeist and Fire on Ice decided the best course of action was to seal the cave entrance using ordnance from a Hercules A-2 bomber. Why? We do not know, but this ended up collapsing and destroying the only way in or out of these beautiful caves, which had likely stood untouched for countless millennia, and which no one would ever be able to visit again. The Valakers, as it turned out, were not there. The expedition continued nonetheless, taking in more sights along the way. One of the last ones was a derelict outpost on Pyro 4. It was likely planned to go down and clear the area of criminals, but once more under the direction of Fire on Ice, the A-2 bomber was called in, and the entire outpost was obliterated. There is perhaps a conversation to be had about sending a bomber on an exploration mission. Either way, the crews had a good time, everyone returned safely, and Operation Dark Echo was declared a success, albeit one that left rather more of Pyro flattened than was strictly necessary. A packed weekend then, one that moved the USC forward on several fronts. New blueprints secured, new stations unlocked, and new corners of Pyro mapped out, and in some cases, permanently altered. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for listening. Until next time.